Hello? 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 This is the Vancouver
Commercial
Real Estate Podcast.
And welcome back to the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Cory Wright, and sitting in again with me is my special co-host, Nathan Armour. Nathan, how you doing today?
Feeling great. Happy to be here.
So Adam just got up and left. Where he is, I don't know. I got a text. Matt's still dealing with the mosquitoes over in Manitoba for what some reason I don't have answers for that. So I've got you today.
Don't sound too excited.
Oh, I'm thrilled.
Okay,
I'm thrilled.
good.
That's 2 episodes in a row, and I think I don't want to say this too loud about Matt and Adam, but I mean the tremendous feedback we got for you helping guest host when we had Imad there from the Global Group on. No one's given me any good feedback about Matt and Adam yet.
I paid them.
Yeah, well, so Matt and Adam pay me. That's why I have to sort of listen to what they do.
I hear their names every other show. So
Yeah, no, that's good. So what's on the docket? What's going on in the commercial world?
commercial world, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, is kind of had a little bit of a slowdown just with regards to everybody trying to get on vacation as the restrictions are slowly being lifted. So people have kind of took their business and their investments on the side a little bit, but there's still work to be done.
Everyone's watching the Olympics.
5 medals, all by women for Team
I
Canada.
know, that's amazing. And for those who don't know, 2 of our guys in our Victoria office, Harry Jones and Connor Braid, are actually in the Olympics right now representing Canada on the men's rugby sevens program. And I know talking to some guys in the company, they've been getting up quite early in the morning to catch their games.
Oh, yeah.
I saw some of the highlights on TV. I can only say this because they're in Tokyo and they cannot physically get to me at this point. They look a lot scarier on TV than they do in person.
I was going to say the same thing. It's like, I think it's the camera adds 10 pounds or something along those lines.
I don't know. Like Connor's such a nice guy, and then you watch him out there running through people like a bull, and I'm like, that's not the guy I know.
No, he dumped somebody yesterday. It was incredible to watch.
I know. It's they're a lot scarier on TV, but I can tell you they're really good guys in person.
I got an email from one of them the other day. It had Olympian broker in their signature line. I was like, I don't even know if that's legal anymore.
How do you compete with that?
You can't.
I think we just got to turn the keys over to them at this point.
No, they're good stuff.
So anything exciting on the weekend? I'm asking you a rhetorical question at this point, I think.
Yeah, I got something to brag about. We had our annual William Wright retreat in Whistler where all the offices come together, and it's kind of a pent-up demand because we missed out on 2020.
Well, I can say this past Monday, the offices were very, very limited. I think when I was in the office, I might saw 1 or 2 people. So it's
Well, you didn't come to the New West office. We were there at 7 in the morning, ready to go.
That's the answer I'm looking for. That's the answer I'm looking for.
Work hard, play hard.
So we had our gathering up there. We had probably 40 plus people partake this time. We had golf. We had everything. It turned out really, really good. Weather was phenomenal. The Westin Hotel always treats us so good, but now reality kicks back in, and we got to get going here.
I kind of wish I did the spa, to be honest. That 5 hours on the golf course with the sun blaring, and I think they did the right choice.
Yeah, I think the people who picked the spa were the smarter of the people. I remember struggling to get on the golf course and thinking, what am I doing?
Well, why did we do the 10 a.m. tee time? Like, we couldn't have got anything later, eh?
I think it was just cheaper that time of day. So before we get to our guest today, who do we have on today, Nate?
We got Drew Ratcliffe from And-Co, the new experience to the shared office space.
Yeah, it's just like shared office, but like from a luxury standpoint. I think I make a comment during the interview that, I'd like to just move in.
Wait, think about it. They got a wellness center. They got a restaurant. They got gym facilities.
It's almost, he was telling us about $1,500 per head. It's almost cheaper to go there than it is to sort of rent a 1-bedroom and den downtown. And you don't get a chef.
It's going to be a really good episode, though. He's got a lot to unpack for us.
And before we get to our episode, our show is always sponsored by our friends over at Impact Commercial Group with over 50 years of lending experience for all your commercial lending needs. Visit them at impactcommercial.ca. Without further ado, we'll get to our interview with Drew. Enjoy, guys.
Take care.
All right, guys, we're here with our interview today with Drew Ratcliffe, who is the president of the Armpeg Group of Companies. Drew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, Cory. How about you?
Great. Thanks so much for joining us. So for our guests who don't know much about you, can you tell us more about yourself and then maybe a little bit more about the Armpeg Group?
I can probably do that. Try to fly under the radar. So my title as president has morphed over 15 years of involvement with the RPIG Group. We're a family-owned and run company based in Vancouver. I'm third generation. So, my grandfather started the company really with an eye on coastal real estate and what was going on in the market in the 50s and 60s. If you'd asked me 20 odd years ago when I was immersed in entrepreneurship and my own businesses and healthcare, if you had asked me if I'd ever see myself working for the family business, I would have said it's probably not going to happen. But things change, and as it turned out, the day to day has always been somewhat fluid. And if I really look back at it, boy, everything from baling hay when I was 3 years old to cleaning toilets and cutting grass.
Wow.
Right up to today. So that's a little bit about me. I mean, I love what I do, and the RPIG Group, we've been on this sort of furious growth pace for the last 5 years. We've successfully bucked the family business trend and moved into the third generation, and our fourth generation is nipping at our heels. 35 people and counting in that generation.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Lots of shoes to fill. So today we wanted to have you on because you guys have this amazing new exciting concept called And-Co. And we're always looking for sort of cutting edge next type of thing that's coming to Vancouver. Can you maybe sort of, unpack what this And-Co is and maybe break it down a little bit for our listeners, what it is and who your target is and what it'll be offering?
Yeah, I sure can. And-Co is a standalone brand within our group. So really, simply put, it's a hospitality offering, full stop. So, our commercial real estate portfolio runs the gamut of multifamily rentals and office and retail. On the office side, we recognized early, both as users of space and leasing and landlording, if you will, we recognized a shift, call it 10 years ago. And so And-Co is the organic development of those experiences that we've had, where we're down in Cole Harbour, we're steps away from Stanley Park, and really what makes Vancouver special in terms of, the rest of the world that wants to come here now. And so we've got this great location, and we realized that the market has changed, and, shared boutique office is something we wanted to deliver. So And-Co is exactly that. It's a hospitality offering that ultimately is, hardwired to deliver an experience to the member companies who really believe and support their people as their most valuable assets, right? So, it sounds cliche, and I think, Cory, we've, this pandemic thing has certainly taught us this, and I think it's just accelerated it from my point of view, where, look, right now, people are as important as they ever have been.
Yeah, for sure.
More so.
Yeah, totally. Can't agree on that.
So we hear it, and I'm sure you hear it with your guests, and I'm sure you see it in your own team, right? It's, attracting and retaining great talent. It's hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And, in the office-centric days of yesteryear, if you will, archaic, you have to show up, you have to be here at this such and such a time and be in this location. COVID has just, rapidly accelerated what some of us were already trying to do pre-COVID.
Yep.
To the point now where, look, and I think it's a great thing, employees, staff, teams, there's a massive power shift.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we're still having these conversations, and I think the story, obviously is far from being complete and or written, where, lots of models out there, a lot of people scratching their head, and ultimately all of that, for us at And-Co comes down to, we have to deliver to our team and our staff. And by that, And-Co aims to deliver flexibility and choice in that personalized space.
So when you say it's a hospitality offering, you've provided us with this amazing deck that I wish our listeners could see it, is a WeWork kind of geared towards the hospitality industry? Is that kind of the target market, or who's the target that And-Co is looking to sort of come occupy these spaces?
Yeah. So, again, I think that just to touch on the hospitality piece, the reality is, and I know, Cory, you're in the industry and you probably see the same thing, but, space as a service is where we got to go. Yeah. That's what this has become. And I'm a big believer that anybody that says otherwise, is probably due for a reckoning. This is definitely a pivotal shift for us, this COVID thing. And I think, like I said, it's accelerated it. But our target market, so the And-Co offering is, when we look back at our own experience, or we looked at the offerings in the marketplace, the arbitrage that, was tried, and I think most of the record now will show it failed, where, you had, an operator take some space and charge a premium to tenants. And on that basis, it was short term and it was, rent a desk, if you will. So the And-Co model for us is Work 2.0 or Work 3.0, where our offering is 95% private offices. So what we are all about is saying to those small, medium-sized businesses that, the open floor concept and coming and going on rented desks with who knows who's beside you or around you and in your space, that doesn't work for everybody. So, there's a gap there that says, well, wait a second, company like ours with RPEG, let's say, as our parent company, we will need to have an office in Vancouver. We need 4 walls around us, but our team needs much more than that, right? We need something that delivers more than just space. We need the kinds of amenities and service that not only allow my team to be, come to work and be the best they can be, but it's really this, And-Co standing up for this extension of wellness in the workplace. So who we're attracting really simply, Cory, would be companies that ultimately put their people first and understand that means the office of today, as far as I'm concerned, is another tool in your HR playbook.
Yeah, no, and I think obviously in our industry we're very bullish on the office market coming back, and I think when we go back through other worldly events such as like 9/11 and all that stuff, we heard a lot of things said that this market was going to die, and it didn't. Yeah. So I think people are going to come back, and during the pandemic, I think a lot of landlords probably in the downtown marketplace saw that tenants were still paying their rents and they were renewing their rents because that tenant's going to be there. So potential tenants of And-Co, what is And-Co offering over and above the space? Because I know in your deck there, you guys have everything from looks like hospitality chefs, probably kitchens to workout facilities. Like what can these tenants expect to get in And-Co versus them just going to either say like a WeWork, as in maybe a not the best example, but just from a listener standpoint, or even to like a private office and just another office building. What is And-Co offering over and above just that basic office experience?
Gotcha. So when I hear the other examples, I think workspace, and I get it. It's really easy, right, to throw a tagline or something out there in social media or on your content marketing, whatever else it says you're all about community. You can't just fabricate that, right? So And-Co is more than a workspace, right? If I haven't already made that point abundantly clear, we're a tailored shared office solution. So we're in a Class A office space, full hospitality. So let me describe a perfect day, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
Please.
So my perfect day, right? I go to the office. I like to work out. So I work out in the morning. Pre-COVID or post-COVID, this is one of the things that has kept us, getting decent sleep through this pandemic, is that it all still applies. My perfect day is, look, I've got to come into the office. I've got meetings. I've got interviews. I've got client meetings, whatever else it is. I'm going to show up at 5:00 and I want to work out. I want to work out in a space that I don't feel is overcrowded and, I have to, think or I have to engage with people. I just want to get in and work out. So we've got a small boutique space on the ground floor. Trainers are available. I like to work out by myself. So I'll jump on some of the, the equipment, which again would obviously be Class A and first class equipment. I'm going to jump on, I'm going to work out. Now I'm going to grab a smoothie, which again, right next door to the gym is a new restaurant that we're launching as part of And-Co called Knox. And I'm going to have a smoothie, right? And I'm going to head on, I'm going to shower. I'm not going to shower in a retrofitted afterthought, shower stall that someone's thrown into the office. Again, I'm going to go to our end of trip. Our shower facilities are designed for exactly this kind of workflow. I'll shower and then I'll head up to my office. And my route to my office, I've got interconnected stairs here at And-Co, so I've never been a fan of elevators. So I'll take the stairs. Along the way, I'll probably meet and greet, right? I'll engage. Maybe Cory is coming in. We'll talk about, either what's going on in our personal lives or what's going on in our business lives and how we want to work together and what we're going to do. Eventually I get to my office on the 4th floor. And then I'm set up for how I need to work best. So, full disclosure, I'm if you ask me, Cory, I'd say I'm an introvert and I really need to focus to get, my best work done. An open floor concept doesn't really resonate with me in that way, but our office is enclosed. So all the private offices at And-Co, again, we've all got our own office space. Ours is, again, it's open concept once I'm in the office, and I'll sit down and I'll meet with my team. So for me, that looks like, I'll meet with my controller, maybe my ops manager, maybe one of the VPs, and we'll discuss what's going on for the day. When I need to do my own time, my own thing, if you will, I'll leave the office and I'll walk, on the floor, staying on the floor where my office is. I'll walk down the hall and jump in, a soundproof phone booth, which I can close the door and I can get 2 hours of work done without any distractions. Now, maybe you're coming in and we're doing an interview and I'm interviewing you on your podcast. And so in the afternoon, I'll book our content creation room, which, Cory, it's going to be open to you whenever you need, because I know that technology is always a headache.
I have an iPhone too, so you kind of have an idea of the level of technology I have. I can't trade it in because I don't know what my Apple password is, so I'm just stuck with it.
But even like our experience with the podcast, right? I mean, after 18 or 16 months of this pandemic of Zoom meetings and all the rest of it, I'm sure like you, come on, there's still some frustrating IT points out there.
Oh, for sure.
Because we haven't really hardwired. We weren't really ready for this. So at And-Co, we've been marinating in this experience of COVID. So our content creation room allows me to have Cory come down at 3:00 and you and I can do an interview in that space. Perhaps, let's say it's 4:00 in the afternoon. You and I want to head downstairs and have a light dinner together, glass of wine, and carry on the day as it would be. And then I'll, tuck down to my car and head home. So the idea being that, that's just one example of what a perfect day looks like. If I look at my team, in the space, I've got some that, they need to be at their desk for longer parts of the day. And that's where they're doing their best work. I've got others who, really are looking at the space and going, geez, I've already figured out which quiet corner of the space I'm going to tuck away and get work done.
Hey, Drew, quick question for you. What kind of footprint has And-Co absorbed? Like, how many floors are you guys taking over, and where does
we've taken over 4 floors, which is about, call it 40,000 feet.
Okay, and so how many offices? Because you says there's 4 walls for everybody. How many offices are in there?
Yep, we've got a combination of from 4 to 16 person offices, and there are 19 of those.
And what is the process of somebody trying to get involved in And-Co? Would they just reach out to, do you guys have a sales team, or how does somebody get information?
Yeah. So our director of sales is brilliant, and, she's easy to get a hold of, obviously, on the web at andco.ca. The first step would be you're like a lot of people right now, and the calls that we're getting, it's people that are still scratching their head, right? Mm-hmm. So they're still looking at, I don't have a crystal ball. Who knows what September's bringing, what October, November, our typical cold and flu season on top of variant. I mean, obviously hoping for the best, but those calls that are coming in now, people want to book a tour and come down and see the space. I think that's really a critical path, because what we're launching, Cory, really, there's nothing like this in Vancouver. And so, I love the opportunity to come onto your podcast here, because just like you said earlier at the intro, you like to talk about innovation and future thinking. I mean, this is something, if you're akin to like the Soho House, Noy House, the Office Group in London, it's so much more than a co-working space, in that it's really 4 floors of a community that offers something to every single one of our members and their teams therein, without being, this overreaching, crammed in, packed floor plate that becomes, more cumbersome, and certainly because of COVID, more problems.
You mentioned there about some stuff, sort of other, maybe similar type operations throughout maybe New York or London there. But, that led me to my next question is, what's the inspiration behind this? Where are you drawing inspiration to create this, and where do you see it going in the future? Is this the first of more And-Cos to come, or is this kind of a one-off Vancouver idea? Where did it come from? Where's it going?
So the first part of that question is easy, but where it came from was really organically. So this site down in Cole Harbour, we've owned for 30 odd years, and our head office was in the space previously. So on an organic level, what we started seeing just in our own office, was, the conventional, everyone had their own office, large footprint, it really, and we were smaller then. We were about a third the size that we are now. And I was the youngest at the time when I came in. And, that kind of layout seemed to work for some organizations back then. Now, organically, we knew that, well, wait a second, this is not the kind of space that's going to attract talent. So if we want to grow, we got to have a conversation about, what is space really about? So we were living the experience of, space really matters for growth and productivity and, delivering more to our staff. We also had a really unique situation in that we've got the original boardroom from the Georgia Medical Dental Building. So I assume you're familiar with that, but
yes.
Vancouver's first Art Deco tower was my grandfather's first purchase as a syndicate.
Wow.
And he managed to keep this boardroom. So long story short, in this rundown space down here, prior to the new space, we had this boardroom set up, and we were starting to see our tenants in the rest of the office would come to us and ask us if they could use the boardroom because they didn't have that set up. And, it was an ad hoc thing, a meeting here and a meeting there. So organically, you start to see how people use space, ourselves included. That was sort of the first, iteration of us kind of going, wait a second. The second piece was, as, owners and operators of space, 10 years ago, I mean, the gold standard 5-10 year leases, those days are gone, right? They're great for, the old way and the old landlord-tenant relationship. But I think to our, absolute credit and those before me in our business, we've never operated like that. We've always operated under a framework that, our tenants are business partners as much as anybody else is. And, those customers, those tenants are key to our success and vice versa. So how do we create that relationship that, we get it. We've had tenants come to us in downturns and have struggles. We've had those conversations where, the best tenant you're ever going to have or the best partner you're ever going to have is the one you currently have. So let's work through some of that. And so putting that all together, the hospitality piece is really it's not a stretch for us in any way, shape, or form. It's something we've always been operating within that framework. And so And-Co became us saying, okay, we're going to redevelop the site down here in Cole Harbour. Location is stupendous. And really, I mean, it's kind of like ground zero for everything that makes Vancouver special for those of us that, just are passionate Vancouver people, right?
For sure.
It's funny because Cory, it used to be that, you're off core in Cole Harbour and it's a full 5 minutes from the downtown core of Vancouver. But now it's, that's being celebrated.
Oh, it's a status now.
Off core, right? Yeah.
I got a scenario for you, Drew. If I'm opening up, let's just say I got a software company. I'm growing out of my attic and I need an office space that's going to represent my brand. What is that going to cost me to go in there? I have a team of 4 people.
Well, so the easy answer to that is, you're probably call it $1,500 a month a seat.
Okay.
But Cory, and you know this because I know your background, right? The brokerage, even the brokerage industry has changed to outfits like yours that realize that there's more value driven to clients by understanding your client's needs more than just, hey, what's my cap rate? What's my return? What's my net? This is about saying, look, really understanding what that software company needs. And by that, I mean, maybe they've got 4 people in their office, but they need a bigger footprint.
Yeah. Maybe
they've got 4 people in, and maybe, there's a part of this that's the COVID thing. Maybe that 4-person team right now is, leadership is going, well, boy, there's, 2 of us really don't ever want to come back to the office, or 2 of us want to come back to the office once or twice a week. How do I facilitate that without overextending on my balance sheet?
Yeah.
Right. Do I really want a long-term liability in terms of my real estate footprint when really, it's not doing much for me? So where we come in, we say, well, our Our terms are flexible, so it's a 12-month membership agreement. We're as much geared for helping our members grow their companies and become successful. And if that means going from 4 to 8 in a year, I mean, you know this, what do you do, right? If you've got a conventional lease and you don't have the space, well, you start throwing a desk here and you start throwing a desk here. And before you know it, your staff turn around to you, Cory, and they're like, well, Cory, this isn't exactly the best environment. So And-Co would allow you to come to us and say, hey, you know what, great news. My brokerage or my software company is growing. How can I facilitate that at And-Co? Mm-hmm. And the beauty is that, again, because we have so many touch points within the space, it's not without in the realm of possibility to be able to say, okay, sit down with us, and either it's a bigger office for that software company, or it's coming up with whatever that new hybrid reality looks like, which may be, hey, I need to use the bookable meeting rooms more often for when my team does all come into the office.
Has COVID changed, or did you guys pivot during COVID, maybe with the concept at all, or is there anything that maybe you guys learned from it or feel, very passionate about that, COVID's affected, our business, or this is what it was, and then, moving forward, here's how we see things differently? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but with COVID directly, is there anything that changed in the concept or the design of when you guys were looking to create the And-Co concept?
There's two ways to approach that. One would be simply just the planning aspect. So, like all of us, what hasn't COVID changed, right?
Yeah.
I think that, like everybody else, March hit all of a sudden like a typhoon, and everyone went on pause and panicked, and nobody knew what was going. But by the time we, sort of collected ourselves, if you will, in terms of what we were doing with And-Co, when we really looked at, okay, what are we offering and how are we offering it? I wish I could say that, there was a crystal ball, but the reality is, we've always had a focus with And-Co on A, hospitality, and B, wellness. So when you put those two things together and you go, well, pre-COVID, it was a really nice feature to have operable windows, right? Operable windows in office space, that's a nice to have. Post-COVID, it's kind of a must to have, right? But those were already baked into our plan. So things like operable windows, the interconnected stairs, lots of natural light, lots of foliage and indoor plantings, and if anything, COVID, what it did for us was it focused us in on our systems. So the, low touch environment. How can we, improve on what we were already doing with respect to the technology piece to make sure that, Cory and his team, there was as few touch points as possible in terms of access controls.
Yeah.
The balance of it, HVAC, again, for us, we were already trending that way. So we're, this is a LEED building. We're pursuing WELL certification, which, again, means that, these things have to be addressed in order to attain that certification. But again, if I'm looking at conventional space or had we been launching conventional space, I probably would have lost more sleep because I'd be going, geez, how am I ever going to get people back into the old way of offices and, maybe cleaning the common areas once in a while. In this case, it's, we've got a full-time cleaning staff. We've got a team of IT on board. So, it really is that service space. COVID has just accelerated our need for that, right? And as a leader of our team, if I take a step back and go, geez, even our parent co and our business, I looked around and I said, well, I've got people with, far more pressing matters right now because of COVID, whether it be, kids that aren't in school, elderly parents who, haven't been visited for months on end, let alone, maybe even 16 and all these other pressures outside of the office.
Yeah.
How do I get them back to the office, or how do I create an environment that they might, be able to engage with the office? Because culture is still key, right?
Totally.
COVID has kind of messed with that whole thing because on the one hand, everyone fled the downtown core and their offices. And I don't know about what working from home does or looks like for you, Cory, but, everyone's got such a different experience that way. And COVID is just, again, for And-Co, it's really battle tested us.
Yeah.
But again, I just think, yeah, you know what? Before COVID, it was, exactly the right time for the offering. And after COVID and during, it's even more so.
It's like you had a crystal ball, like, even though you said you didn't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Somebody might have, but it wasn't me.
I know you don't have access to one, but what do you foresee is next for And-Co? And like, do you guys see a second location?
Yeah, and now I'm sure at some point my team might listen to this, Cory, so I got to be careful on this one. But
you got to make sure everyone listens to this. You got to force them.
I mean, they know this. Yeah, I mean, again, what our history and our PEG track record supports in this And-Co launch is that, look, we're here for generations. So this isn't a one-off, let's try something and give it a go for a year. We're committed to, what we're doing at And-Co and obviously are, full on drinking the Kool-Aid with respect to how this is going to help, the next generation of work. So yeah, we're throughout the Pacific Northwest right now. We've looked at other sites here and there. Quite honestly, the 5-year plan would see us have, a few more locations in Western Canada. And then beyond that, like I said, I'm just bullish that, this is the right time and this is the right concept.
What type of occupancy are you guys anticipating, or are you currently at with And-Co, in case some of our listeners are more intrigued to find out more about how they can be a part of it?
Yeah, so I anticipate that we're going to be full occupancy. Our soft launch is in November of this year.
Yeah.
We've got, of those 18, we've got 6 spoken for right now.
Wow.
And quite honestly, yeah, I mean, I think it's, there are, to your point, your example earlier, right? The people who have been living or working out of the garage or whatnot, they're certainly kicking the tires because it's time to, set up some sort of an office arrangement that isn't, like I said, a 5 or 10 year lease and a commitment that feels like an anchor. And yet they still want to represent their brand. And to do that, they need the kind of space that we're offering. So yeah, I'm eternally optimistic, but I certainly don't, look, downtown, you referenced it earlier, we had 9/11, nobody's ever coming back to the office.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time, but it's also going to, again, you look at the Vancouver core and most of the product that's coming on stream has already been spoken for.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's going to be acres and acres a la Calgary of vacancies that everyone's going to be, scrambling for. This is the kind of thing, as far as I'm concerned, that the shift is on as far as space as a service, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it almost sounds like resort style living, and at those prices, I'm almost thinking if I can convince you to convert one into like a 1-bed and den for me, I might just move in.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you so much, Drew. We have a we call the MLG 6-pack, 6 lighthearted questions we can ask you guys to sort of so our guests kind of get a better idea who you are outside of the office. Do you have just a few more minutes for us?
Depending on the questions, I do, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So the MLG 6-pack is brought to you by McKinnis Law Group. For all your commercial legal needs, from commercial closings to commercial leases, you can visit them at mlglaw.ca. All right, Drew, I'm going to let Nate ask you the first one here.
That's my favorite. What is your favorite movie? Nobody's going to judge you.
Nate, what's my favorite movie?
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
My favorite movie? You said nobody's going to judge you.
Nobody.
Nate was watching My Little Pony this morning, so we're not judging him. So
gotta have open mind, man.
Those days are behind me. How about The Untouchables?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or Shawshank Redemption?
We had that with Pat.
We had that last episode. We had a guest, Pat Wood from Victoria on self-storage, and that was his movie. Favorite book or a book you'd recommend our listeners?
Favorite book for listeners to read of your podcast? There's an awful lot, and it depends on the day, but Start With Why, Simon Sinek.
That's a good one. That's a good one, yeah.
Is a good one, or To Kill a Mockingbird.
Another good one.
She haven't taken that one in.
That has more than just pictures, Nate, so you might not be able to read that
I was going to say, yes. If it's Drew, what about a favorite vacation spot, destination you like to go to?
Favorite vacation spot? Come on, that's an easy one. I'm looking at it right now at my window. BC.
But you're going to say And-Co.
Victoria, Paraguay. Come on. Right in our backyard.
I thought you were calling us from Maui for a second there. I was like, this is great. No, I think from a pandemic standpoint, we can't really argue too much. There's probably not too many places in the world you want to be locked in like we have in BC, from all the destinations from Vancouver to Whistler, Kelowna, and all that stuff. It's just gorgeous.
Right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Favorite band? Or music group, duo, singer.
I'm just going to show some true colors here.
Favorite? Well, no, you said favorite band. When I hear band, I think a band that I would go. Spirit of the West at the Commodore or up at Whistler. Come on,
there you go.
But favorite song, I'd say "Sinner Man" by Nina Simone.
I'll throw it on the drive home. Got a quote or words you like to live by?
I've got a lot.
We've got time.
Let's go with a quote. Let's go with "Culture eats strategy for breakfast."
Oh,
Culture eats strategy for breakfast.
I haven't heard that one. That is a good one.
All right,
I haven't heard that one.
There you go.
And what is one piece of advice you'd maybe give our listeners that are either looking to get into the office market or the commercial real estate market with your guys' background there? What's one piece of advice you would give maybe someone who's novice looking to enter that?
For a novice, I would say, identify or find somebody who's doing something that you think turns your crank, and find a way to get their attention. And whether it's, volunteering, whether it's, a mentoring situation, but, sort of test drive the experience you want with a good mentor or coach.
Great advice. For our listeners that want to find out more about you, Drew, and what And-Co, where can they go find more information about that?
Website is and-co.ca.
And you guys said your soft launch is November of this year?
You bet.
Great. Well, Drew, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. We know you're busy there. And thank you once again for joining us today.
Hey, I really appreciate it, Cory. All the best.
Great. Thanks, Drew.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. There you have it, our interview with Drew Ratcliffe of And-Co, which almost sounds like resort living. It sounds so good.
I'm going to the Knox restaurant as soon as the doors open.
Well, like I said, I think they're kind of on point with kind of what's happening, and obviously the WeWorks of the world and the Regis of the world. They're almost taking that to like the next level and creating almost, I don't want to say like a luxury side of it, but a fully encompassed one-stop shop in Vancouver, probably needed post-pandemic, and it sounds like they're taking it really seriously.
Well, definitely. From what I see, it's what business owners struggle with a lot is, they're stuck at home. They need that next step, but they don't want to lock in for a 3, 4, 5 year lease. This is the answer. And
I think you're going to find too that, obviously the office market is coming back already. I think the longer people work from home, the more excited they are to come back to the office space. And we've seen tenants, some tenants have subleased and some tenants have left, obviously, but for the majority of them, they've paid their rent. They've even renewed in some cases.
Yep.
Some businesses have expanded during this time. So I think, that there's going to be that marketplace is going to exist for those shorter term type tenants. And it sounds like, based on what they're trying to do and trying to sort of be, a leader in that industry, I think they have a very, very good road ahead of them.
Well, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
That was great. That's one thing we preach all the time around our office is about just the work environment and the corporate culture that is sort of created amongst all the offices and obviously what you're doing out there in New West. So important. And I think so many businesses, if they didn't learn from COVID that you have to be able to move on the fly and pivot, you'll never learn, because guys sit there and they draw a straight line on a piece of paper and think that's how it's going to work, and every day is different. Great quote.
No, I love it. The guy was dialed in.
So Nate, what's next for you? I know you're out there in the New West office. You guys are killing it as always. What's next on your plate?
We basically just got to satisfy a lot of different clients' needs. Everybody's looking for the industrial asset class right now with regards to warehousing. They need fence yards. So it's kind of being on top of the ball and anything that comes up, just being first in line.
We're sitting here in the middle of a massive heat wave. I know the residential side's probably slowed down a little bit, which is natural. People are out doing other stuff. Have we seen a slowdown at all on the commercial side, or are we still full steam ahead?
I would say clients are still interested, but a lot of people are on vacation right now, which is a nice little kind of foot off the gas pedal, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah, so gear up for fall is what you're saying.
Buckle up.
And Nate, thank you once again for sitting in. How can guests find out more about Nate and what you guys are doing out there in our New West office?
Super simple. Send me a quick email, nathan@williamwright.ca, or I got the Instagram page now, Armor Nathan. One-stop follow.
There you go. And if they want to try to get a hold of me, they can reach me at 604-428-5255 at our Vancouver office, or they're always welcome to reach me at Cory@williamwright.ca. Thanks so much for listening, guys.
Take care.
Subscribe today.